What we want to talk about today is ride the wave to marketing success with online tools. Now, when I set this up, what I found recently is that we've had a few more requests coming through for training with things like Trello and Asana. Now, we as a consultancy use Asana and also Trello ourselves, but mainly Asana. And because we also do training with Agile, Asana has been a really great tool, as any of the online tools are. Now, many of you will know me as being Peck, and I'm Managing Director of the International Bunch. I've been working in marketing for near on 20 years, and I've been using these kind of tools for many years and different types of tools. So I just thought it'd be really good to have a session where we can talk about these, help people to work together better as teams. And this isn't just because it's about people working more virtually now because of the situation that we're in, but also they are great tools to work with when you are in an office. Okay, so in terms of housekeeping today, everyone is on mute. I can't hear you if you talk to me. So do make sure that you type in any questions that you have in the Q&A, and I will happily pick those up. We will answer those at the end, but if you're anything like me, you might forget what you were going to ask. So just make sure that you pop them in as soon as that you think about them. And there will be an on-demand recording available for you. And like the others that I know some of you have already attended, you will have received those links. I think the one for last week is coming out this week, just because we wanted to make some edits to it. So you've got a nice cleaner version. So in terms of what are we going to be talking about today? Okay, so we're going to be looking at these online tools. We're going to be talking about why should you actually adopt them, the importance of them. And we're going to be talking about working smart, because that's, you know, a word that I love, smart. And then I'm going to run you through a live demo. Now this could run for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. It depends on the questions and also in terms of like what I cover. I am going to try and keep it quite basic because I do want to run through Planner, Trello and Asana. But I just want to give you an idea of what different systems looks like, and then we'll have the Q&A. Okay, so there are an abundance of project tools out there, and you know, some of the most common ones are like Asana and Trello, but I'm just going to give you an idea of some of them. So we've got Trello, Planner, which is, Planner belongs to Office 365. So if you have Office 365, maybe you've got Teams, for example, then Planner is in there, and you can include your Planner in your Teams. It's quite basic in terms of what it does, but it might be something free that you've already got. Asana is one I mentioned. Monday.com, I see them, they're clearly targeting me a lot on Facebook at the moment because I see they're advertising all the time. GitHub, which is usually one that's been more developer-led, but you may have heard of that. It's usually open source. Basecamp as well, that's another one. I know that historically I used to use Basecamp years ago. AHA, LeanKit, Smartsheet, Nutcash, Casual, Flow, Rike, Excel even, and then finally ClickUp. Now there, you can see there are lots of them, and you're probably like, oh my God, how do I know which one I want to choose? Do you know, sometimes you don't know until you've really tried them out. You really need to decide what exactly is it that I want this online tool to do, and what's my objective with it. And then it's about finding the right one. And you will find that on Google, there are lots of different comparisons out there. You can even get comparisons of tables about what works best, have a look in terms of what people recommend. But ultimately, sometimes with those systems, it's about what works best for you and what you need it to do. Now, I know that in the publishing industry, the academic publishing industry, Trello is really popular. And that's one that we've been doing quite a bit of training on recently. We do basic and advanced training on Trello and Asana. And I know that a number of people use Trello, not just professionally, but also personally. So they create their own boards to, you know, if you're having a wedding or you're having a party or, you know, whatever it may be, you have it as a working board to help to organize your life. Okay, so why would you even be thinking about adopting an online tool like Trello, Asana, or any of the ones that we mentioned? So one thing I will say is when we talk about this is that everyone is different, right? and everyone has different levels of adoption. So when you introduce something like an online tool, it's another service, it's another system for people to learn. And so you may find that people will be quite, what's the word I'm looking for, hesitant and reluctant to use it. They're always best when everyone adopts them and uses them together, but some people will need more training than others. Some people don't pick up systems like some of us do, and so they will need some extra support. But why would we do this? So it's about being adaptable. So if you think about this in terms of professionally, but also it's applicable personally, it's about being adaptable to the work that you're doing. It's about having transparency, so your team members are able to see what you're working on, what's been done, being able to see what others been working on. If you've got projects that you're all working on together, you can see who's doing what. So there's that transparency in terms of also managing expectations of ownership, which is really helpful. And it also saves lots of emails coming to you to say, where are we at with this? What's happening with this? Because you're enabling and empowering people to be able to go into an online solution and be able to see for themselves. It also can look in terms of how a project is performing. If you're blocked with certain things that are stopping you from moving forward, you can do reporting in some of these systems as well. In Asana and in Trello, you can download the raw data. And also in terms of the speed of what you're doing. So you can monitor and see how quickly you're doing things, but also because you've got everything all in one place and the team can all access everything in one place, you may find that you can get some things done quicker because you can access the information sooner. And then it's really very much about collaborating together. Now you can use one of these online tools as just you, as I mentioned before, as a central repository for yourself for storing information. I'm going to show you a nice example in a minute. Or maybe you're getting married, or you've got an event that you want to make sure that you've got a list of all the things that need to be done. Then you can do that. So what do they do? They basically allow you to simplify your planning process and also to effectively manage your tasks. You work together as a team, so you have a much better united and unified workflow, more seamless. You can share and collaborate centrally, which is incredibly helpful. You can track the work that you're doing, what needs to be done, what hasn't been done yet. If someone happened to be ill or away or on holiday, you've got a way of picking up that work. And also you can identify what are the common blockers that people keep having. So you can use things like labels and tags, and then you can sort of report on those to see what commonly keeps getting blocked. And then if, for example, like we touched on last week, there's about working agile. So you can support a more agile way of working. And then you can work smart as well. Now, smart is about being more efficient and more effective in what you're doing. It's reducing the noise. It's just working in a way that you're stop doing what you shouldn't be doing. Inherently, a lot of people find that they will keep doing marketing, for example, because traditionally they've always done it. And actually they don't need to do it, but they keep doing it because they think they should. And somehow they need to help themselves to decide, how do I stop doing this? And how do I also evidence to my stakeholders that I need to stop doing this because this is a waste of time? So these kind of tools allow you to work smarter as well. So in terms of working smart, because I love it when we can all work smart, is that you manage all your tasks in one place. You're reducing your email noise, so you can use these systems to set up notifications about when you're having discussions inside a card or a task, and keeping it all in one place inside a board. But the notifications that are coming out to you from these systems will be going into your inbox. So you can change the frequency when you get them. Maybe you can just put them in a certain folder. So actually you are reducing the email noise. You can create templates as well for repetitive tasks. So for example, like if you're doing an event, you can create templates so that the same task will appear at the same time. Every time you want to have an event, that's really helpful. Or if you have a reoccurring task every month, maybe you're doing something around social and you know that you go through exactly the same process and you have to get approvals from certain people for text that you've drafted, etc., etc. So that's really helpful. That helps to reduce time. And then also everyone knows what they're doing. So if you have a new starter that joins, you can say, All you need to do is create that template, and then you'll have the step-by-step list of items that you need to do. You can use them as well as a hub for resources. So if you have an area that has links out to team resources, somewhere that you share top hints and tips with each other, that's something that you can do. If you have a board that's specifically for meetings, and so you pop in your agenda items into there, and then you've got this one place that you can go to. And I'm going to show you that when we look at that live. Do remember, I can see that we've already started getting questions in, but do remember in the, there is a Q&A area. So do add in those questions as soon as you think about them, because we will address these at the end of the session. Also, it's about working consistently. So when you're working together in a team, when you create these different areas, if you create them consistently, so that when you know that if you're working across multiple boards or areas, you're going into that area and you know exactly what it's going to look like, and you know exactly where you should find something that's not done yet, or that's in progress, or that's completed, or that's blocked. All that kind of workflow is the same. So that's very helpful, that when you're working across multiple teams. Now, how you might have your own personal board, and you might manage your own personal board that no one else sees because it's personal to you, that's up to you. But when you're working across a number of teams with different individuals, try and keep them as consistent as possible. Also, with these services, you can assign people and you can assign dates as well. So that helps creating like a task list that's specifically related to a certain project. Something that you need to be mindful about there is that when you assign people and dates, you are, when you assign people and dates, you are, these may be a premium version of a service that you're using. And I am going to touch on that in terms of one service during the free version. It allows you also to prioritize your tasks that you're doing. That's really helpful when you're saying, right, what should we work on today? I attended a training course the other day, and she was saying that one thing that she does is, in terms of prioritization, is she has one thing that she prioritized to say that she has to get done that day. And that's a really interesting way of doing it, that if there was anything that had to get done that day, there'd be absolutely one thing that has to get done. That's actually a really nice way of prioritizing and focusing your mind to make sure that that one most important thing, whatever that is, gets done. But you can use labels, and you can prioritize your tasks inside these systems so you know what needs to get done by when. Also, you're keeping all of those comments, all of those conversations that you have in one area, in one place. You're taking them out of your email, you're reducing the noise in your email, and you're adding them into there. And if you find that you've got people who aren't in these systems and they're emailing you and stuff, well, you can forward those emails into these systems, and you can attach them to tasks or cards. I'll talk about that in a moment, but you can attach them into the areas so that you have specific, you have everything in one place. Because not everyone will access them, and you may find that some people just won't adopt it. You can also have a private team public privacy options. So if you have your own private area, that is just for yourself, but you may give access to someone else. You may have a team area that anyone in the team can see, and you can also do public. An example of public would be, there are hundreds of boards on Trello which are publicly available, where people are sharing information with others so that they can simply copy the board and keep it for themselves. Or if it's like top hints and tips in Trello, you can go into like a publicly open Trello board. So that's great in terms of having a repository that you want to share with the community, and you don't mind that people are going to copy it, and that they are going to also have lots of information there publicly available. I can see I'm getting a few questions through. I'm just going to double check these questions just to check that there isn't anything specifically wrong. Okay, perfect. If I just close those now. Right, so also these systems allow you to integrate with other services as well, which is really handy and really helpful. Some more than others. Trello and Asana even integrate with each other. But also in terms of if you're looking to do reporting, you may find that these third-party integrations that you have will have a cost associated with them. And I'll cover those in just a moment. Okay, so I also touched on earlier about reporting, that you can export raw data from them. So if, like me, you like pivot tables, you can export the raw data into a tab and you can refresh and populate your pivot tables if you're looking to report on specific information. My team don't have to worry that I'm not going into my project tool and I'm looking to see what they're completing and by when, because quite frankly, we don't have time, and that's also not how we work. But some people do get concerned with these tools that someone may manage them in terms of their performance. So it's a very open and transparent system. And what you'll find is that a lot of the time that people just don't get time to go that granular into what people are doing and when. And we, for example, in our team, when we deadline something, when we create a due date, we don't necessarily say that that's the absolute due date. And then if I don't do it by that due date, one of my team's going to have a go at me. I might set a due date because that's when I know that I need to get it done by, but it's not urgent. It's not an absolute must. I'd probably change the priority, but I know my projects and my tasks enough that I'd say I want to get it done by this time realistically. And then it becomes an overdue item that I know that I need to address. Now, if my team have assigned me with a task and they put a due date, I'm going to meet that due date because they have specifically said to me, by assigning me a due date, I need you to complete this by, because if I don't, that's going to have a knock-on effect to their workflow and what they're doing. I mean, I hope that I'm usually pretty good at that. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a couple of examples here before we go into the live version. But what we've got here is a nice example of someone that is actually taking pictures of their child's artwork, and they're putting it into certain columns to say this is what she did when she was in kindergarten, first grade, because we know that, you know, sometimes we end up getting loads of drawings and paintings, and sometimes we keep them, sometimes we get too many, and so some go in recycling. So there's actually a really nice way here of having a digital repository of all of these really nice memories that you have. And this is something that someone has set up that's in a personal board to them, but it's also something that's private to them as well. But you could share it with family, say, for example. Another one here, I touched on this earlier in terms of weddings. Someone set up this and they have created these columns in here, or lists, because this is Trello, because they have all these different terminology, and I'm going to interchange between them. But you'll see here that they have specifically split out their wedding to say morning, afternoon, ceremony, reception, vendors. So they have specifically set this up of what's happening on the actual day. They may have another board somewhere which is to do with like pre-wedding, and then they might have a post-wedding one which is all to do with that, sending invitations. And then finally, there's more of a work-based one here, and this is using Asana. You've got these same column areas here, and then you've got lots of tasks underneath, which are relating to activities that you could do, or just more information. Now, they can be tasks, or they could just generally be information that you're putting in there, resources. So that gives you an idea. And then this final one, I just added this in here because I thought it was quite nice that if you're working in a commercial environment and you're thinking more in terms of like, how can I use this tool for my business and to align with my objectives, then you can say, well, I know that these tasks that we're doing are specifically related to these objectives. And I very much feel quite strongly from my perspective that you need to make sure that you're aligned to your business objectives, because you're prioritizing your work based on what the business needs you to do. And that also helps you with pushback with other stakeholders to say, what you're asking me to do is not aligned to an objective that the business needs us to do. And so that helps you to push back. I can see I'm getting lots of questions in at the moment. Okay, so live demo. So I'm now going to come out of here and I'm going to go into, I'm not going to go into my Facebook. But the first one I actually want to show you is Trello. Not Trello, sorry, let me start that again, is Planner. Now, if you go into your Teams area, and I've got one here and I've gone into my general, at the top here, you have this plus. And if I click on plus, there's a way that you can add lots of different types of other programs into your teams. And what I simply did was I clicked on Planner here. Now you need to have Office 365 to have Teams, and then you'll have Planner. And I created a board. You can see it uses the word board here. It also has charts and it has schedules. So I created a board, and because I like to work in columns in an agile way, and I like to have consistently across the whole of the international bunch to do, in progress, completed, resources. And that means that whenever I go into any of these systems, regardless if it's Planner, if it's Trello, if it's Asana, they all look the same. I know if I go into the to-do area, that is tasks that haven't yet been started. They are there waiting to be done. So if I want to check on how some work is progressing for a client, I can simply go into that client board and I can say, all right, I can see that we've got this email job here, but we haven't yet started it. So I maybe want to touch base with one of my team to find out what we're doing. And actually what I do is I just add a little comment into that task, because I'm keeping everything all in one place. So I've also got trackability of going back and saying, what did I ask them and when? And then I'll get notifications about when they answer. So what I've done here is you'll see this common across all of them. I create these columns. This is what works for me. And then if I click on create any of these tasks, I can also say, for example, in Planner, I can add a checklist, but you'll notice here I can't assign people and I can't give them a date. I'm just literally saying in this task, these are the checklist items I want to do. So for here, because Planner's a bit more basic, you can assign a person. So I could assign myself, for example. So I can assign myself here. And then I can put, you know, whether it's in progress if I want to, whether it's not started, whether it's completed. Of course, I have my manual columns I've created that I can drag and drop things over to. But because I work in an agile way, I want to have those columns. I want that consistent approach. You don't need those columns if you're using not started, in progress and completed, because that information is also translating through to the charts, which is a way of reporting. Also, we can give things a status in terms of saying what priority they are. Now, a little hint from me is if something's urgent, that literally has to be the website has fallen over, and that is taking precedence over any other thing that I need to do. That is the most urgent thing. And you don't want to have lots of urgent or priority one tasks. You kind of want to go more for important, medium, and low. So urgent really needs to be everyone stop doing what you're doing and start doing the urgent task. So you can add checklist items, which you can tick off, which I love doing because I like ticking things off. It's very, you know, you just scroll over things. It's very intuitive. You find the little icons appear. You can easily delete. I'm not going to go into these in depth, but you can add attachments as well. And then also I could add a comment into here and I could say, hey, Lou, I know I'm talking to myself. I love it. Can you give me an update on, oh look, see, I'm typing too quickly for myself on this. And then I'll just scroll down a little and I press the send button. And at the bottom here as well, it'll show me any kind of detail. I created this task when I added comments. So you have like a breadcrumb trail as well. And that's quite common throughout these systems. So Planner's a lot more basic. But it does mean that you've got something that you can work with straight away if you've got Office 365. And also you can have labels to categorize things into certain areas. So maybe if you want to do that by department, or maybe if you want to label things specifically like type of work that you're on, that's how you do it. Now, it's a simple drag and drop. It's very intuitive, simple. Because I had set this task to in progress, I have to drop it to the in progress column myself. But you can see that it's got this circle with a half of it shaded, and that's basically saying that it is in progress. Okay, so just a point here as well, you can have charts that say, you know, how many tasks you've got left to do, what's happening, have they any been any are unassigned. I feel like it should be Friday. And then you can see task list down the side. So that's just a really nice way of having that transparency to see, right, where are we at with this project, what's happening. And then also you can see a calendar schedule. And often with these systems, you can add the calendar, you can sync the calendar into your own calendar, like in Outlook. So you can have everything appearing in one place. So that's a way that these systems integrate and work together. So that was just Planner, very briefly. Now I want to show you Trello. Trello, a lot of people use this. It's great fun, but it does have limitations, quite a few limitations, more limitations than Asana. And so on the free version, but it is a great fun system. You can see here, very much created this in the same way. When we had the Planner version up, it wasn't as visually appealing. I did add an attachment into here, which you can see one attachment, but it doesn't show that attachment. Here, when you create, these columns that I have here in Trello are called lists, and a task is called a card. So when you create a card, and if I open up this one, then you can add a cover image on the top here. So it's very visual. It's and when you attach images as well into these, it'll show those images. And you can do fun things like you can click on a URL in a window and you can drag and drop it into here, and it will create a card and populate the information that's in that page inside the card. Specific information it pulls through in the metadata. But that's a really great fun thing to do, and it has lots of other things that you can do. Now I'm in the premium version here, so there will be additional features in here that you may not get in the free version. But you can do like stickers, so I can add stickers to a card. So if you're working in a team, just make sure that you're all using those stickers consistently to say this is what this means. You know, of course, the thumbs up should hopefully be a positive and a smiley face. But this is what a Trello board looks like, and a Trello board has the house icon, which gives you like a home view here. I use this a lot for demos. But when I mentioned earlier about a publicly facing site, something that I had bought that gave me access to these stories that sell, this shows a publicly available information that I can copy this board, which I did, and then I can use the text that I bought in this thing to say, well, you know, it's $27, and I can have 365 posts that potentially we could use online. I mean, I've been through them now, and I'd probably say maybe only 10 of them would really be right for us. But, you know, $27, what's that, £20, you know, for 10, maybe that's not so bad. So you can also have like a view. So you'll see here that I've got personal boards, and then I've got my team boards. You can create boards into different areas. I talked about privacy options, so you can have boards which are specifically just for you or for you to share with your family, or ones that you share in a team. And then finally, because I'm just doing a whistle-stop tour of these, there's Asana. And Asana, you know, it's the same. You've got a board that you go into. You can create a number of boards. I find the navigation a bit better in Asana because it has them listed down the side here. With Trello, I can simply click on boards and it does list them. It's just something that I have to click on, whereas Asana, it's here all the time. What I find with Asana is that I can do more in Asana than I can with Trello. I can have multiple boards, and I can have a task or a card, or however we want to talk about them, that I can add to multiple boards if I want to. And Trello, to do that, that's a feature that you have to pay for with someone else. But actually Trello has some amazing automation, and you can do rules in Trello. You can set things up so that, for example, if I move a, let me just go back into my Trello test board. If I move something over from in progress into completed, I might have an in progress label, and I can create a rule. So what it does is if I move anything into completed, it takes off the other label it had and it adds a completed label. So when I'm doing my reporting through labels, all my labels are up to date. I don't manually have to do it myself. That automation stuff in Trello is really awesome. But it really depends what you need the service to do. And actually for what I need Trello to do, because I'm very granular in the way that I work, and these systems can really work with you in great ways, what I do is, as I create a subtask inside this task, and I say, hey, I don't know, make a cup of, I mean, let's be boring here. I don't even drink tea, but let's make a cup of tea. Now, I can actually then click further into here and make more lists and add more tasks and assign it to people and date it. And that's part of the free version. And and that means I can have loads of subtasks of tasks and subtasks, and that's just because I like ticking things off a list and working really granular. But the same thing again, you can see that there's a breadcrumb trail here in terms of what I've been doing. So in Trello, you can add items into here, for example. In fact, let me go into this test one. I can add a nice checklist into here, and I can name my checklist, and I can add multiple checklists in. So I can bunch checklist up together: pre-marketing activity, launch marketing activity, post-marketing activity. But for me to assign it, and for me to assign it to a person and a date, that is in the premium version. There is Trello in the personal version does allow you to use something called a power up, and a power up is when you use any of the third party or even a Trello additional feature that you can create. The free version allows you to one power up, and that might be that you want to have, for example, like a power up that's like a calendar specific to that board, which I can also sync to my Outlook to have appear in my Outlook, so I don't even have to go into this calendar view. But that power up, that calendar power up, will use up your free power up, so you need to decide what you want to do. But you know, they're both easy, simple systems. Planner's a lot more basic, but if you've got it there, you've got a free service that you can start using. Asana and Trello have free, a number of the others all have free, and if they don't, they'll have a trial. So really just get out there and start using these systems and find out what works best for you. It really is a whistle-stop tour. We do basic and advanced training with these systems and help you with how potentially you could set these up to work for you. A good way of starting to use them is just set up your own personal board, and maybe just like that really nice example that I showed you of someone saving memories, then you can use a Trello board, for example, to share memories. Maybe you want to share your memories of lockdown, of you know how you managed and got through lockdown, because here in Wales, I mean, we're in wherever we are, we're still very much in lockdown, which is very different compared to England. Hopefully things will change soon, and you know, things will go back to the new normal. So I've very briefly touched on those tools, and I hope that you found this helpful. To give you some ideas. I'm going to go through the questions because we've had a number of questions come through. So why do you think Trello is so popular with publishers? I really am not sure, to be fair. I think that probably Trello's done a really good way of getting themselves out there and marketing themselves, and it's more to do with people using them as a personal board and an area to collaborate with family and friends on things. And so because it's got some really fun and nice features, and because visually how it looks, I should think that that's why it's been more popular. Asana is one that people have looked at before, but they felt that Trello's the better one to go for. I personally prefer Asana just because of how I work, and I want to be able to assign my team to various tasks, and I want to be able to date it, and that's really important for me, but that might not be so important for you. But you can, the cards that you have in Trello, you can assign those and you can date them. It's just that if you want to do it for the checklist items, that's a premium feature. Okay, so which system or tool could you not do without if you had to pick one? So I think I mean, if I think about this positively, I could do without anything. But if anything, Asana's my personal favorite because it does what I need it to do. But with doing lots of training recently with Trello and their new features, I have to say I do love the automate and stuff with Trello. And so if they had some of the features that Asana had, I would absolutely go over to Trello because it is more fun. Which do you think is most suitable for smaller teams? Honestly, you can use any of these, whether you are one person or whether you are a number of people, a big team. These are multi-purpose tools, and that's the great thing about them. When choosing a tool to help you with a marketing task, how do you pick when there are so many out there? So as I touched on this before, this is really tricky. because you need to define what exactly do I want this tool to do. Do I want to work across multiple teams, and is it important that I want to be able to share a task across multiple boards that that supports a lot of cross-team working? Yes, then say for example Asana would be a great one. If that's not so much of a concern, but you want to be able to link cards together, and you want to have one which is in like an editorial area and one which is in a marketing area, but you want to link them together so that you can easily go back and forth, have a reciprocal link to see what editorial's working on to do with what you're working on, then Trello would be great there. A lot of them are much stronger when it comes to the reporting and the Gantt charts that are available to you. I mean, Planner was a nice one that it shows you that information in that really nice summary that gives you like a really quick glance of what's available. So do go on online, do use a search engine, Bing, Google, whichever, and do make sure that you see if you can find some comparison. Just see what people are saying, and then just choose one or two or three. Well, if you choose one, you've chosen, but choose two or three, and then just type into your search engine Trello versus Asana versus Planner, for example, or Trello versus Planner. There are plenty of reviews out there, but what you want to do is maybe go into images if you use Google search, for example, and see if you can find any comparison tables that show you the features. But often you just got to start using them, and then you can find out what's going to work best for you, because you know it's a personal experience at the end of the day, especially if there's only one of you using it. Do you think it's generally better to use paid for tools, or can free versions be helpful too? Absolutely, I think free versions can be really helpful. They often have a lot of really great features. We don't subscribe to an actual, sorry, I'm just going to shut my window a second, bear with me. I've done my back in, so it takes me a little bit of time to get up. I can hear my daughter's on the loose, and I'm sure she'll stand outside my open window. So yeah, there are plenty of great free versions out there. We use the free Asana tool ourselves. I've used the Asana paid version. I'm using the Trello paid version. You just got to decide what features are most important for you. Sorry, there's a little fly in here. What features are most important to you, and then find the tool. The costs are usually done by cost per user. And so that's something that you need to be mindful of, especially if in Trello, if, for example, you wanted, like Asana does, that's really important for me, I can have a task that appears across multiple boards. That's a free in Asana, that's a free feature. In Trello, I can subscribe to Unito, for example, and I can mirror that card in multiple boards, but then I have to pay for that, and that comes at a cost per user. So you have to also be mindful about what integrations do we want to pay for. But then Trello has loads of really great integrations with third-party providers. So actually, there are some things that you might want to pay for. And like they have really great integrations with Google Docs as well, or Google Drive. I sometimes feel like learning to use new tools is very time-consuming. Do you have any tips to quickly decide if something's worth the time investment? Yeah, they can be, and everyone learns at different ways and different rates. You've absolutely got to help and support each other, have a consistent way of working if you're doing it across a team. But also what I would say is that have a little bit of research online and watch some videos and see them work. Now, it really is important that you decide, this is ultimately what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to have a board and create a task where I can have lots of checklist items that I can assign to people. And so decide something that's quite specific what you want to do. Now, you might not even know that at the beginning, but because many of these systems are very similar, drag and drop, create lists or columns, if you are in one and you don't like it, you can go into another one. And to be honest, you'll have a really good idea of how they work. Some things are a little bit different, but the main way of working is going to be similar. So you would have already learned. So it is going to save you time ultimately. Do you regularly reassess how useful tools are as your business needs change? Yes. And I think what we're really fortunate with is because we do training, basic and advanced training with a number of these tools, we are able to see whether what we're using at the moment is working for us. Now, when you're a small business like ourselves, we want to keep our costs low. And so Asana absolutely does what we need it to do. And we did go through a process recently of trialing Asana versus Trello with different things. And because specific features are so important for what we need them to do, and it comes at a cost, with Trello, we're staying with Asana, even though Trello has some really great features that I really, really like. And I'll probably use it as a personal board as well, because they're muchness in terms of columns and lists. So yeah, that's something certainly that you might need to do. Okay, so I can see that we've answered all the questions now. If anyone else has any other specific questions, please do send them through. I'll give you a moment. If not, get in contact with me directly. Now, this is a shorter session than the other one, so you'll probably be a bit more relieved that you're going to have, you know, about 16 minutes back for your day. But I'd just like to say thank you so much for attending. We have one final webinar next week in this webinar series, and that one is going to be about unleashing the power of virtual events. So we're going to give you lots of great hints and tips about hosting virtual events, which I know is quite timely at the moment. This is training that we've given quite a bit in the last couple of months. Hopefully it'll give you ideas as well about doing physical sessions. And then for those that attend and register for these sessions, you do get a link to the recording afterwards so that you can watch it whenever you want. We host those on YouTube in a hidden area, so you'll get access, and anything that we have that's of helpful resources we'll also include in that email. We are going to be looking at doing a webinar a month as well, free webinars. Probably on things like storytelling. We might look to do one just touching on the basics of GDPR, because we get asked about that a lot. So just basically bring in an expert to cover some specific questions, because even ourselves, we have some questions ourselves. And I know that when GDPR was announced and it became about, there were lots of questions in terms of what do I do when it comes to contacting people who are past clients or people who are business contacts. And so that probably would be something useful. But if you do have any ideas about, Lou, it'd be really great for you guys to look at covering a webinar session about this. If we get enough demand, absolutely, we'll look to create a free session. So delighted to have you join us again. I don't think we've had any additional questions. We had about 7 come through. So thank you so much, guys, for attending the session. It has been an absolute delight, and you can now have 14 minutes back. So wishing you all the best, and thank you very much, Facebook, for all of you, those of you that are watching, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks very much, everybody. Take care.